Hey mama, if you're listening to this, you might be carrying a secret that feels too heavy to speak out loud. You look like you got it all together, you serve at church, maybe you even lead a Bible study. You smile when you drop off the kids, but no one sees the other side of you, the one that comes out behind closed doors. At home, you are a completely different person. You yell, you explode, you scream at your kids, sometimes in their face. You tell them to shut up. You grab them too harshly. You throw things across the room. You smack them in anger, twist their ears, spank them in rage, and immediately after, you are hit with a tidal wave of shame. You cry alone in your room and you whisper, "God, what is wrong with me?" You feel scared and disgusted by your own reactions. You're terrified that someone might find out. You wonder if your kids would be better off without you. You feel unworthy, broken, and too far gone to be redeemed. You try to fix this on your own. You listen to podcasts, parenting books, download freebies, but nothing changes. You keep falling back into the same patterns, and it feels like you are stuck in a cycle that you can't break. You don't trust yourself anymore, and if you're honest, you are afraid of who you become. But here's the truth, mama. You are not beyond hope. You're not alone, and with God's help and the right support, you can change. I'm Elizabeth, a mom of 4 and an anger management coach for Christian moms. And inside my Calm Christian Mom coaching program, I guide women just like you through a powerful transformation. This isn't shallow behavior management. We go deep. We address your triggers, your stress, your mindset, your nervous system, and the spiritual root behind your patterns. We invite God into every layer and walk hand in hand towards healing. In just 12 weeks, you can become a completely different mom, unrecognizable. One who leads with patience, not panic. One whose children feel emotionally safe around her. One who cultivates peace. This summer, I'm offering a Calm Mama Strategy Session, a powerful 15-minute one-on-one coaching session designed to help you uncover the root of your anger and receive spiritual, emotional, and practical support. It's your chance to experience what coaching is like with me before diving deeper into ongoing support. If we both feel like the full program is the next right step, we can talk about what that looks like for you. You don't have to keep living like this. Your family is worth healing, and so are you. Use the link in the show notes to book the Calm Mama Strategy Session. Hey mama, have you ever wondered if your hormones are out of whack? In today's episode, I invited my friend Joelle, and she's a hormone expert, and we cover topics like red flags that your hormones are off, how hormones affect your mood and your emotional regulation and energy levels, what hormones are doing during your cycle, best workouts to support your hormone health, and foods to eat and foods to avoid to support your hormone health. My friend, if you are a woman in your 30s, this episode is so applicable for you, because if you ever struggled with having a hard time losing weight, you feel like energy crashes often, you have adult acne, this is going to be so eye-opening for you and extremely helpful. Welcome, my friend Joelle. Take a listen. Hi, Joelle. Welcome to Emotional Healthy Legacy Podcast. I'm so excited to have a conversation with you today.
I'm so excited and grateful to be here. Thank you for having me.
Yes, I would love to start out with like an icebreaker question. Tell me something you've been loving lately.
Man, something I have been loving lately is making sure that I am detached from my phone at as many moments as I possibly can. And I know you totally are in alignment with that because you're not using social media in the traditional sense. And I think it is so healthy for moms. But for somebody like me who has the love for social media at times, and majority of the time I can continue a balanced relationship with it. Even if I delete the social media apps off my phone, and I still have my phone on me, for some reason, it still feels like I'm literally connected to an outside world that's spinning even faster than what's going on in the present moment, right? And so, what I've been loving doing lately is if I wake up in the morning, I don't take my phone with me downstairs. Majority of the time, I have to intentionally go back upstairs to grab it before I'm bringing the kids off to their day-to-day situations. Or even in the evening, like if I go upstairs to change into my sweatpants, I put my phone on my nightstand because we're doing family time in the downstairs, like main area of our home. Just not having my phone on me is something I'm completely obsessed with. In the moment things with life and motherhood that have come from me not having my phone by me.
I love that. I love that. I have, like I told you, and like I've posted on my podcast and stuff, and I have been off social media, work wise, and it's not on my phone. I just log in once in a while through the desktop to answer some messages and connect with people that I'm trying to, build a relationship with. But otherwise, I'm not on my phone that much. And I noticed that when I deleted social media, my phone almost felt useless for a little bit. It's like, what do I do? Right? Like, so used to just picking it up. And it was just such an automatic thing to just open the app, even though I had no notifications on my, social media apps. And so when that was gone, it felt so freeing to me. And like, I oftentimes will like get home from school with kids and like my phone is in my purse. And then it's like 7 p.m. And I'm like, wait, where's my phone? Like, I haven't even touched it for like 3, 4 hours. And it feels so good. It helps you truly be a lot more present as a parent. It really, really does. Like, not
Does.
having that distraction, just
Yes.
not even seeing it. Like, it's not even there. When you see it, you feel like you have to pick it up and, check it. So if you're listening to this, I would challenge you, mama, to put your phone away for a little bit, just not even have it next to you. It's going to feel a little bit awkward and weird because if you're attached to it, I want to choose to be more present. And it's like a practical thing that helps me be more present. Okay. We're going to take a breath and circle back. You're here to talk about hormone health for women. So I'd love for you to tell me a little bit about yourself, like your family, you have kids, how many? You said you live in Minnesota, and how did you get on to this journey of learning all about hormonal health?
It's a long story, but I really can sum it up in the sense of learning about my hormones happened because after having my second child, things just seemed like those red flags, which we'll talk about here in a little while. Those red flags seemed louder than ever. And I've been a health and fitness coach. I'm a certified nutritionist for over a decade. And I always knew to get results, I knew, using air quotes, was to work out more, eat less. Well, after having my second, I noticed I was working out consistently, eating fairly healthy. If I would have been eating any healthier, it would have been very restrictive, right? Because I eat healthy majority of the time and I wasn't seeing any progress. And I was actually starting to see the number go back up. And I was starting to see the number of when I was 9 months pregnant, creeping back on the scale. And I was wondering and really feeling I feel like I am working against my body. I feel like I'm fighting my body to lose weight. And I came to this spot where I'm like, okay, I can either learn how to work with my body or I can continue to fight it. And so that led me into a long line of learning and understanding our feminine biology. God gave us this biology. It is very different than men's, and majority of health and fitness studies are done on men. So I really was like bringing faith into this. I really was like, God, you created me as a woman to do so many different things. I want to better understand this biology that you gave me. And in health and fitness, because it started with health and fitness for me, I learned, okay, there are the 4 different phases. What are our hormones doing in each phase? And then how can I optimize that specific phase based on where I'm at in my hormones? And I ended up losing 20 pounds, not overnight. It didn't just fall off, but it took like small little things that I changed that led to a positive impact. And then I really started realizing, wow, my mood, my energy, my emotion, my creativity, my go-getter work ethic also really seemed very cyclical for me. So that's how I got started in learning about my cycle, and what I call my living in sync method is it's about understanding our biological blueprint. So knowing what our hormones are doing, how that affects us, and then adding in that customizable element, because it's not one size fits all for everybody. Even though we as women are unique, everybody as an individual is unique as well.
Thank you so much for sharing your story. I think so many women resonate with, the struggle that you experience with like exercising and eating healthy and still gaining weight. And then, like for me, when I started to learn about cycle syncing, I had another guest and we talked about the phases, and I will link that episode in the show notes. And after that, I started to like sync that with my, work calendar, and just like, how much energy I'm outputting. Like even like if I'm going out with a friend, I look at the schedule. If I'm planning a play date, I'm like, if this is my week before my period, like nobody really wants to be around me.
This is where I differ, is the customization of it, because I have learned cycle syncing, which is a method done by Elisa Vitti. I started learning an aspect, an element of what she teaches, but I will not go by that and that alone of the week before. I'm struggling because I want it to be an expression of everybody is different, because the week before my period, that is, like you said, nobody wants to be around me. And for you, that may work really, really well. For me, I get in my head way too much that week before my period. So if I isolate and if I am in a lone space, I mentally go to a dark place, right? So it's better for me to be social in late luteal and menstrual, because I am the type that when I am around people, and especially when as moms, we have small circles, like during those late luteal days, it really worked well to message my BFF and be like, I'm having a bad day. I'm feeling really impatient. Can you just like come over with your kids? And it was like she even came in as another support system for me. And now, I know when if my husband makes plans with a community group we're friends with, I'm like, there's somebody who is funny in that group every single time. And I'm just going to let that person be funny. I'm going to laugh at their jokes, and I get energy from it. And very much likewise, I'm in late luteal right now. Cycle syncing experts would say, nope, I don't do speaking engagements during this phase. I only do them during ovulation. Coming onto your podcast, being introduced to your community felt very aligned for me. It was something where I was like, yes, I listen to your show. I love what you talk about. I see your ratings and reviews on your podcast. You've got a great community of women, and you're limited on time. You're a mom of 4. I understand. I'm not going to be bebopping back and forth, circling back to, oh, I'm now in ovulation. Can we do that interview now? I know that this is something I love and I'm so passionate about that I will make the decision in aligned action. And if I was having a really bad day, I would give myself the permission to cancel and not feel bad about it. But I'm sitting here very grateful for the opportunity to be here, even though it's not the most phase friendly. Yeah, I may stumble over a few more words, have to think a little bit harder in response to questions versus in ovulation phase or follicular phase, where that energy is just like flowing because estrogen and testosterone are on my side. But because I have that better understanding of my body, I can still show up in my day-to-day things in every phase and optimize it.
This week is the week for me before my cycle. This is the week where like It's not so much other people. I would love to go out and like be out with a friend. And when I lived in Minnesota, I had more girlfriends and I would be like, hey, I have a night off. Like my husband's home with the kids. Do you want to go like, for happy hour or something and just grab something to eat? Like we'd go out at like 9 p.m., and I just needed that another mom to connect with, like on a deeper level. But like I know that for my family, my kids, their needs, their noise, like I need time away from them. Like I need I'm an introvert to begin with. So I need even extra more alone time. Like sometimes there's a few days that I'm like, I love you, but your existence, the fact that you exist and you even have any needs, like really gets to me. I definitely notice that I'm a lot more agitated and short fused. And if I have like an emotional explosion, it almost always lines up with
Oh,
that time
100.
of the month for me, even though I do a lot of great things to support myself proactively. So let's circle all of that back and talk about like, okay, a mom is listening to this episode. She's like, okay, you're talking about hormonal health. Like, how do I even know my hormones are off? Like, what are some red flags? Can you like bring us all back to that and tell us, okay, how do we figure out that something is actually off with our hormones?
Right. Such a great question. And I love explaining it in this way is our body is very much like a car. And you know how your car, when it really starts to go out, there's those small signals. And if you start avoid it, you're like, oh, it's fine. I can keep
Mhm.
driving. You're going to see bigger issues
So
later.
relatable. So
So
relatable.
so on your car, you're like, I heard a weird sound. And then the next one's like, okay, I was sitting at a stop sign and there was like this weird skip. And then a light comes on and then another comes on. And without that being attended to, there is havoc that is raised within your car, right? Your body is the same. So for some with imbalanced hormones, it can start with very small things like inconsistent cycles. It can start with something like acne, even experiencing those, slight to drastic mood swings, migraines, extreme pain, extreme mood fluctuations. Those are all red flags. And I really broke it down to mind, body, and spirit. So when it comes to mind and paying attention to these red flags is, there should be, and I'm using air quotes for like there should be shifts in mood, energy, and emotion because our hormones are different. When estrogen and testosterone are high, our energy is going to feel more vibrant, more exuberant. Maybe even for some with testosterone, they feel a little bit more angsty and edgy. This is why the customization of my living in sync method is different, because what the process I take you through is understanding each phase, what your hormones are doing, and then how that is impacting you specifically. And then with the mind, body, and spirit piece, or the mood, energy, and emotion, your fluctuations shouldn't feel like big tidal waves. And I did have and struggled with a condition called PMDD. This is probably where the second phase of my own hormonal understanding came in. Was I really started noticing there was like a week within my cycle where I was unhappy in my marriage, my mood, like my business, my kids. Like I remember crying on the floor in our living room. I had the fireplace on, and for some reason my parents swung by that day and I was just like sobbing, and I vented about all of these things. And then they offered to take my oldest, who was a toddler at the time. And I had a girlfriend ask me the question of like, do you feel this way all the time or just right now? And that was a
Mm.
powerful question, because then I was like, okay, well, I'm going to put a blue dot on my calendar when I feel this extreme. And I found it was always around the same time. To me, hormonal red flag, right? So there's that those mood, energy, emotion shifts shouldn't feel like big tidal waves crashing where you feel really, really good and then really, really bad, but more like you're on water, there's a float, there's a wave going. Some days are up, some days are down, but nothing knocks you out like a tidal wave. For body, it's those symptoms of like cramping, inconsistent periods. With a healthy period, it starts, it flows, it goes, and it's a red color. If there are, because there are signs your body are showing you physically in your body of like extreme and dark clotting with your menstrual cycle. That's a red flag telling you like in the last 28 days, something went on. If you're like me, I had noticed the brown spotting before my menstrual phase. So I always had that brown spotting. Also red flag. But then there's those typical symptoms that people talk about and even joke about like, oh, my cramping is so bad and headaches are really bad. Acne is really bad. Those physical symptoms. And then the spirit coming into your intuition, and you want to spend time with yourself and with God to be like, what is going on, Lord? And as some people, I feel like I'm talking to an audience that wouldn't find me crazy for saying this, but that inner guidance, that inner intuition that God can guide you on will lead you to the next step, because that's exactly how I started understanding my own cycle, how I started healing from my PMDD, and then helping to support other people, right? So I really like to look at it from that whole mind, body, spirit perspective.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that. I think that is like super eye-opening for many women. And some of them are like, okay, well, I relate with that. I relate with that. I relate with that. Because I know, like, for me, my cycle is fine. But for me, more than anything, it's like my mood, the days leading to my cycle. The last few months have been better. Like, but it would just, I remember like half a year, it was like my husband's like, dude, you need to go like figure out what is going on this 1 week before your period. It's like you're a completely different person. And like I literally feel like like you're talking about like PMDD, like because I heard of that not too long ago. And I literally felt like I would have like this dark cloud over me. Like
Mm-hmm.
I would see everything from a negative lens. Everything felt like it's falling apart. Like it's too much. Like I'm like failing everything left and right. And then those days will pass. I'm like, that cloud would just go away. And I'm like, oh, I am so much better.
Well,
And
there's
so,
two things we could really look at when it comes to that, because what's happening during that last week of your cycle before your period is your progesterone is rising. And as soon as your period starts, that progesterone dips. What does progesterone do? Understanding progesterone. Progesterone is that hormone that's supposed to be the chill, the
mm,
level-headed hormone. And there's two things to go along with this. Our society sometimes makes us feel like we shouldn't feel that contentment. We shouldn't feel level. Neutral is another way we could describe it, and if internally, sometimes when we're feeling that way, we're like, oh, what happened to my drive? What happened to my motivation? And then that mental spiral could lead to even more and even more. But it also could be a sign of what's going on with my progesterone. Like, am I not getting enough? Is it low? Is it high? And so the question, if you choose to get testing done, I'm not a doctor, but if you choose to get testing done, I would highly recommend somebody who does the Dutch, DUTCH testing, because you go to your general practitioner, they're going to take your hormone panel. They won't take account what day of your cycle you're in typically. They won't take account what day of your cycle you're in, or when, like with the ranges of what a general hormone panel has, they're very broad, like very, very broad. Like you may file super normal on this spectrum, but normal range doesn't mean optimal. And I believe Dutch testing is what's looking at what's optimal.
Mm. Yeah, because that was another question I had for you. What kind of tests that can be done to figure out if your hormones are off? So let's circle back to exercising that you mentioned, that you were exercising quite a bit and you were not losing weight and it was actually gaining weight. And so I've started to learn recently that actually, like, pushing yourself when you don't feel well, like, especially when you're on your cycle, it's actually not really good for you. It's actually creating more stress response in your body. And it's like literally working against you. So can you speak on that a little bit?
Yeah, I love speaking on this because fitness is a love of mine. Working out to me has always been something to give me energy, not take energy from me. And I truly have loved learning about how to optimize my workouts with my cycle because it leads to a well-rounded training method. Back in my bodybuilder days, I had muscle and very minimal body fat. But I tell you, when I was doing something like putting on my shoes, I felt so achy and tight and tense that even though the bikini competitor world is like the epitome of health, it was so hard for me to feel fluid and mobile. So learning and understanding your cycle and your workouts, you then are looking at, okay, during follicular and ovulation phase, what's happening on a hormonal level? Testosterone and estrogen are on the rise, meaning that gives me energy. I have energy, and testosterone also great for strength training. This is a great time for me to challenge myself, to do the workouts that I love that are challenging. I also kind of do a self-check every day, no matter what phase I'm in. I'm like, what is my body feeling? Because I used to follow those workout programs that was like, today is leg day. But if my legs feel wrecked, I'm not going to work them more. Especially being in our 30s, we need to focus more on recovery. So, if you're doing a workout every day, traditionally, I would say you have to follow intensity with rest, no matter what phase you're in. But in follicular and ovulation phase, you're going to have better recovery just because you have those hormones that'll better support. So that starts my phase off with great workouts, testing and challenging in what area I want to be challenging myself in. And then as I roll into more late luteal and into menstrual phase, I'm lightening it up a little bit and I'm focusing on flow, flexibility and mobility. And what this does is you can't get stronger if you're not flexible. And so this leads into such a well-rounded way of fitness where sometimes I'm challenging myself, sometimes I'm centering myself, and then I'm challenging myself, and then I am recovering. And it's this like beautiful blend of workouts that are strenuous and they challenge me and I work hard, paired with, the workouts that are more like pulled back, walking, Pilates. Even if I am weight training, I might do lighter weights, more reps, and then mobility and flexibility. And when you think of our cycle as like a 28-ish day cycle, that's a whole month's worth of training that is so well-rounded. And when it comes to somebody who loves running or loves CrossFit or loves whatever, you can definitely do what you love. You don't have to change everything up all the time, but it's like maybe during follicular and ovulation, you notice you have that energy and capacity for 4 to 5 workouts in a week. Whereas in late luteal menstrual, you're like, 3 feels really good. And then the other days, I'm just going to be like more gentle, whether that's walking or mobility, flexibility type of stuff. So to me, it aligns, yes, with my cycle, but also with just well-rounded fitness.
Yeah, I like that you're saying that because so many women push themselves through. Like they feel like, okay, I have to work out, or they would hire a personal trainer and they're not considering that. Because I know for me that like this week before my cycle and when my cycle first starts, like I like to take it easy. My body doesn't like to be pushed. Like if I'm doing anything, I like to do stretches or maybe like Pilates or yoga, something that's just like more calming and peaceful. Like at least that's how like my body likes to do it. And I remember I used to like push my body through and then I would feel worse. I
Oh
would
yeah.
like it just feels like I just like literally shot myself in the leg. It just feels worse afterwards. So thank you for speaking to that. And I think that will like open some like perspective and mindset that like you can adjust and like respect your like I like that like mindset, like respect and honor your body and what it's going through and don't just like try to mold it into whatever you want it to be. So I appreciate you speaking on that. I wanted to see if you have anything to add when it comes to like, okay, we are listening to this episode. The mama's listening and she's like, okay, I feel like my hormones are off. I resonate with a lot of this. A lot of the red flags that you spoke, like, where do I even start? I know you have an amazing podcast, Living in Sync. You should check it out. We're going to link it in the show notes. It goes much more in depth in all these topics and they're broken down. I think you're going to really enjoy it. And I just still want you to explain to that mama, like, what is her starting point? Where does she start? She's so overwhelmed. She's like, it's just another thing to like try to figure out, where do I start? What are some few simple steps?
Yeah. And I don't want it to come across as something to try to figure out all on your own, but think of it as an intimate self-discovery. So I would say the first thing is start tracking with an app. And the two that the one I recommend is MyFlo, MyFlo, because that is created by Elisa Vitti, and she does have some cycle syncing recommendations in the app. I believe it's very affordable. And there's also that spot within the app where you can write down. So some ladies were like, oh my gosh, I didn't notice I was having ovulation pain. I didn't notice that I was having, a headache 2 days before my cycle every time and not correlating it until, which I'm giving you step 1 right now, is self-discovery. Like, I know right now you're like, I feel like something's off. I want to get to the bottom of it. I want to figure it out. You just breathe. It starts with self-discovery, right? And if you get one of those apps, the second step is learning about your biology. I call it your biological blueprint. So understanding, okay, like the biggest myth that I still talk on time and time and time again is we've been told when we are in our menstrual phase that our hormones are going crazy. That is absolutely not what's happening. Our hormones are at their lowest. And when you understand what's going on with your biology, you then can go into the third step of learning and optimizing based on step 1, your feedback, and step 2, what should be happening in a healthy hormonal cycle, right? So is it simple enough to start with those 3 steps? Absolutely. But on my podcast, I've got episodes on where to start. And I have a specific, I believe it was my January of 2022 episodes where I did your cycle in every area of your life. So like your cycle and fitness, your cycle and nutrition, your cycle and motherhood. So those episodes are really great to reference too. But I really think it starts with paying attention to your signs without being like overly freaked out about it, because there are definitely times, even though I have a balanced cycle, there are still sometimes where I'm like, whoa, that phase was way more moody than it needed to be. And some like a headache will randomly pop up, but I take it as, okay, noted. I'm going to see how it goes for the next like 2-3 cycles, because And that's why I went to a membership model with my information, is because it's not a fix it in 4 weeks type of thing. It's an ongoing, gentle process, because I know learning everything all at once and overhauling everything all at once feels so overwhelming and so daunting. But when you start with step by step and starting with the self-reflection, then the understanding, then you can go into optimizing.
Yeah, yes. And I really like that you mentioned that, support. Because when we're starting on any sort of journey, like we're struggling, let's say with anger management or hormone health or gut issues or whatever, because that's something that I like looking into because I feel like I'm having some, gut problems. But like that, I'm like, it's so overwhelming when you go online and you just listen to all this information. You're like, where do I start? What do I do? Like, it's so valuable if you're able to, if you're in a place where you can invest into support, like it is so valuable and helpful. Have someone hold your hand and walk you through and tell you step by step what, what you need to do next. Cause yeah, it can feel like too much. And we're already like oftentimes overwhelmed as moms. Add another thing in the mix. It just feels like too much. I wanted to ask one more question before we wrap up on in regards to hormones. What are some foods that we maybe should be eating or maybe avoiding even? Like I know that nutrition has a lot to do with hormone health. Can you speak a little bit on that?
Yes, absolutely. And what I love mostly with nutrition and cycle is not just the what to eat, but the how to eat it. And what I mean by that is when our body is going through like follicular and ovulation where estrogen is on the rise, and we want our estrogen to be on the rise during those phases, but we don't. Excess estrogen causes a lot of problems for women. And it's crazy because the problems show up like during your period or right before your period, but to help and support why those symptoms arise happen in follicular and ovulation, because we want that excess estrogen to be eliminated. So I utilize more along the lines of cooking methods more than like specific food lists, more than anything. So the cooking methods that I love and see people have big, drastic impacts with is having light and raw foods, fruits and vegetables in follicular and ovulation, because those foods are high in fiber. How do you get rid of excess estrogen? Through the digestive system, which will also be great for gut health. And I could have gone on a tangent about that, on how we have overcomplicated the body, but we have to remember the body is all connected. So while you take information from gut health, that will help with hormone support. Hormone support advice, if it's good, will also help with gut health. And so with being in follicular and ovulation, wanting that excess estrogen to be eliminated, focusing on high fiber foods. You'll also notice this is when you are craving those higher fiber foods, when salads and light meals sound really good. You'll notice also you're not as hungry during follicular and ovulation. As you roll into late luteal and menstrual, so like the week before your period and the week of your menstrual phase, you're going to notice that those fresh foods start to sound a little ick. This is oftentimes when you buy that bag of salad and it gets not used and you throw it away a
Yes,
week
I
later.
remember you saying that on the podcast, and I'm like, yes, I relate with that.
Yeah, because this another reason why is because when our body is literally preparing to shed an organ, it slows down our digestive system. And those raw foods can take a little bit longer to process through the digestive system. So during late luteal and menstrual phase, I like to focus on foods that are easy to digest and foods that kind of correlate with the season of your body. Luteal and menstrual are very much like fall and winter. So think of those fall foods, those root vegetables, those sheet pan meals, those soups and stews. Those types of foods sound probably not so much in Florida, but in Minnesota, those foods sound so good, so refreshing and nourishing. And they sound good during those phases for our body too, because they're very hydrating. They hold the nutrients that our body is looking for, and it is easy on the digestive system. So think light and fresh and raw for follicular and ovulation, and then think those warming, hydrating, and easy to digest foods, cooked foods during your late luteal menstrual. And as I always love to preface and say, just like our 4 phases of our cycle are like the seasons of the year, there can be some days where in ovulation, you feel a little bit like luteal, or you feel a little bit like follicular. There may be some days in menstrual that you feel like it's springtime or like it's fall. It's very much a cyclical, not a harsh stop and start. So there are definitely times where, I was drinking my cold smoothie this morning for my breakfast because it's convenient and it's nourishing. But during lunch, I'm going to have this veggie pasta chicken sausage that I have prepped in the fridge because I'm in late luteal. You also need a little bit more calories during late luteal. And so having more of those heartier meals will help sustain you. So there's a lot of nutrition advice that is supportive, but I think the main one is like those cooking methods, because you'll be consuming more fiber to help eliminate that excess estrogen. Then you'll be easier on the digestive system right before, it's going to shed an organ. So it's a little bit more slowed down. I think even just those 2 little tips will be really beneficial, because I know some people talk about seed cycling and all of that. And with the various information I've taken in, I haven't seen that there's I know it was like cauliflower for your hormones or eating a carrot a day for your hormones. Well, a lot of those foods are just nutritionally dense and high in fiber.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know what I mean? You're just glamorizing one over others. And yes, if you start eating more carrots and eating more cauliflower, that's going to be really great because it's nutrient dense and high in fiber. But there's also a lot of other foods, fruits and vegetables that are nutrient dense and high in fiber as well.
Yes. And I hear a lot of you saying, listen to your body, how your body is feeling. Because I definitely noticed today I had soup for lunch, and it's right. I am in that phase right before my cycle. I keep forgetting their names. A luteal phase.
Yep.
And I definitely noticed I don't really care for a salad right now.
Me either.
I want some baked potatoes or something more with carbs. It just sounds much more appealing. And a soup with, I had with lamb and made it with lamb broth and then with lamb meat, and it just tastes really good right now. It just sounds really good. So
if you saw my food, because I do have food lists in my membership where I have 2 tools. It's a meal plan cheat sheet and a food list. And you would look at that food list and you'd be like, oh my gosh, it makes sense as to why this soup sounded good on this day. And I think that's one of the best parts about understanding your cycle is you now are this makes sense because you understand the biology. You see what's going on. When I've had a day that's packed with to-dos, and then I'm how come I'm so tired this week and my brain feels like it's mush and I don't want to talk to my husband after I get the kids down. Instead of feeling ashamed of it, I'm it makes sense. It makes sense, right? So that's where I love to bring ladies is this makes sense as to why I'm feeling this way. And whether it's a different lifestyle change or just grace on grace on grace, that's freeing, right?
What is one thing that you want the listeners to walk away with? They just heard this whole conversation. Some of it is encouraging and inspiring and motivating. Maybe to some of it is a little bit overwhelming. What is one thing that you want this mama who's listening to walk away with today?
Oh, my friend, the one thing I would love for you to know is that your biology is meant to be used in the most optimal, well-rounded way, right? Because we can show up a little bit different in each phase. And each phase is special in its own moments. I give the example of motherhood, where it's like in follicular and ovulation, you have all the energy and the ideas. You're probably like that Pinterest mom doing the things and all of that. And then in luteal, you're kind of at minimal capacity mentally, and you're encouraging your kids to do some of the things on their own. And you're kind of just letting go of that perfectionism of like, they picked out that shirt and pants today. It doesn't match. They look kind of crazy, but yay you. And then in menstrual, you can really find that beauty in feeling quote unquote lazy. The lazy menstrual days in motherhood for me can sometimes be a Toy Story marathon with snacks in the living room with the kids. And you can let the shame spiral happen in so many ways of like too much screen time and all of that. But if you look at it from the standpoint and the hindsight of living in that well-rounded way, you're going to create a lot of really great memories with your kids, no matter what phase you're in. And your body and your biology is best to be optimized in this well-rounded way where, not every day is the same. And you can think of it as a gift. You get different hindsights and perspectives and feelings in different phases and in different ways. And instead of trying to fit a mold or be like, oh, I shouldn't feel that way, I shouldn't, blah, 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 really settle in the fact of like, this is what makes me well-rounded in so many ways.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Thank you so much. That was really well said. I really appreciate you coming onto the show. Let us know where our listeners can connect with you.
My favorite place would be to come to my Living in Sync podcast. I do 2-ish episodes a week. All of them are related to health, fitness, cycle. And then some of my favorite episodes are my girl chats where we just talk all things mom life and random things going on. And those are really, really fun episodes. I do have a free class that I can give you to link where it's going to break down each phase and what is supportive for each phase. And I think that will also be a really great starting point.
Thank you so much for being here. This was so fun.
Thank you for having me.
Mama, I hope you found this episode helpful. And if you have, would you please do me a favor and share it with one friend that you think will benefit from this message? And I will see you in the next episode. Hey Mama, do you find yourself snapping over the smallest things, like spilled milk or constant whining, then feeling horrible afterwards? If you're tired of losing your temper and you want to show up with more patience, I have something for you. It's a free training called How to Be More Patient with Your Kids so you're not screaming over spilled milk. Inside, I'll walk you through 10 simple things you can start doing today to become a calmer, more Christ-like mom, even on the hard days. To get it for free, just leave a rating and review on Apple Podcasts and send a screenshot to hello@emotionallyhealthylegacy.com. Or if you'd rather skip the wait, you can grab it right now for just $27. The link is in the show notes. Let's help you become the peaceful, patient mom your kids need.